Good afternoon, good evening, good morning. Joe Davis, Southern New Hampshire University, CJ 300. We're in Module 4, and let's take a look at the discussion. I wanted to spend a couple minutes on this because it's really an important topic, and my experience has been that sometimes students get sidetracked and start writing about kind of the wrong part because it asks for your opinion. So let me give you what I can to keep you focused because it will help you in the long run. First, you watch this 3-minute video news story, and basically the story is that crime is up, homicides are up in the city of Chicago. Some of the news stations and news outlets are reporting that it's the Capitol murder, all those kinds of things of the United States. So that's all well and good. The real issue here, or let me say what the assignment is. The assignment is in the video, how does bias contribute to the difference in reporting statistics? Now in the video, there is a change in the statistics, not the interpretation of it, not what the newspaper says, but what the chief of police announces that they do differently. So that's what we're talking about. It's real easy to talk about whether the media inflames the situation. You won't get any arguments from me. The reporter implies that. All interesting stuff. But we're here today to talk about research methods and bias in reporting statistics, okay? The second part is where you get to express your opinion, what is one way that you can reduce bias in research and reporting. So that's all I'm after, is to keep you focused on that thing. The question is about bias in reporting statistics. If you see the module overview, Module 4 overview at the bottom of the first page, it tells you the answer to this discussion board. Okay, research bias can be referred to as experimenter bias. The definition is any trend or deviation from the truth in data collection, data analysis, interpretation, and publication, which can cause false conclusions. So that's what bias is, the generic general term defined. Okay, deviations or a trend, kind of like when you change the reporting of statistics. Now, it doesn't mean you can't do that to a social scientist researcher. The impacts of that may be different in the political world, public policy world, all those sorts of things. Okay, so now still taken directly out of the overview, bias within a study can compromise the integrity of the study, which in turn makes the results invalid. It is important for researcher or experimenter to remain impartial, ensuring bias-free methodology. So that's what we're talking about as you start looking at your research question and your methodologies. We all have these biases. We're going to carry them in. We just have to be aware and cautious of them. Okay, research bias can be introduced as early as the literature analysis. If you think about that, if you only look in certain places, that's what you'll find. Or if you only pick certain articles or sources. Okay, choosing to exclude certain studies, for example, will skew the results. All right, one way is when a researcher fails to consider all possible variables, which results in experimental falsities. Now, in the little video, there's discussion about, oh my gosh, all these murders. And then when someone says, well, wait a minute, if we look at it per capita, there are half a dozen other cities that are far more dangerous reference murder during this particular time period. Now, if we were to also listen to the part where the alderman says that, oh, in the last 30 days, everyone else is looking at statistics that are 20 years longitudinal studies. Those would be examples, okay? Other forms of bias can be seen when a researcher intentionally picks subjects that are likely to produce the desired results, also known as a sampling bias. That's a very common one, especially for students, because you want to write about fill in the blank. You know where you want to go. It should actually be the other way around. You want to know where you want to go. You just don't know where that is, so you're going to do research. Okay, design bias is neglecting to account for bias inherent in the design of the study. For example, research in criminal statistics in a given area may not take into account the researcher's awareness of the limitations in the selection of the sample group. Now, this probably doesn't directly apply particularly to Chicago, but it would be race, ethnicity, income, all those kinds of things. It could even be geographic location. All right, the second half, question number 2, asks for your opinion about one way to reduce bias in research and reporting. So to say, make the media, no, I can't imagine how you would make the word media fit into this answer. Okay, because we're talking about bias in research, not bias in reporting. And that's a big difference. And I mention this so strongly because, heck, I agree with you probably. I'd much rather talk about that than bias in research. Okay, before you answer, think about the question is being asked because you'll be designing research. Your answer should be grounded in the material in the text, the readings, and the course resources. Okay, a couple other videos that are here for Module 4. One's the overview, and the second one is Milestone 2, which includes 2 sample papers. One that I did in kind of an outline format so that you could see where I answered each question the rubric asks. Then the second one I did away with that part, and it's just the narrative itself running so you can see finished products. Hope that helps. Keep those cards and letters coming.